Oh, it's come off. I don't believe it. We're having one of those days at the minute. I'm hiding my disappointment really well. Said no one ever. And to say I'm annoyed is an understatement. This is going to be the riskiest live match I've ever done. We're at Patshull Park, absolutely beautiful scenic venue, but time of year, I've never been here this time of year. I don't know how it's going to respond, but that's the beauty of natural water fishing. So let's see how it pans out. Well, I've drawn peg 34, which I've never fished, unsurprisingly. I have fished 37 and that was the peg I wanted. That's probably the best, most consistent peg on this venue, but not an easy peg to fish. So 34, I'm not unhappy. It's in a good area. I've had a good plumb around and I've changed my mind on plans like 3 times already. I was going to go with like a small fish approach short and then big fish long, but the water looks quite clear. It's much clearer. I haven't been here for quite a few months now. And I'd say a lot of the colours dropped out. It's a time of year thing. So I can't see there being loads of small fish. So I'm going to go with a 2-line approach. I've got 35 metres in a 4 count on an 1.5 ounce, and then 70 metres, which is just where it starts to come up. So it's going from a 4 to a 3. My plan is basically put a little bit of bait in at 35, maybe 2-3 bait ups, then maybe 8 to 10 bait ups in at 70. Start short and try and bounce fish off the 2 lines. I've looked at cat shots before I came, done a little bit of homework, been on the Facebook page, and to win it seems like you need 4 or 5 bream and a few decent skimmers. So I can't see anything for like a really busy small fish approach like I might have done in June and July. So literally it's going to be probably hybrid feeders. That's always been good here. That's what people tend to catch on. So hybrid feeder on 2 lines, but also traditional for over the top, just in case I want to mix things up. Quite a patient match. I might have to think on my feet, like I said, a little bit out, not out of my comfort zone because I love natural waters, but I don't know a lot about this venue. So that's the tricky thing. So I've got my plan to start with, but we might have to adapt it. Right, whistle's just gone. Whistle's just gone again. Whistle's just gone. I've got 2 lines, 35 and 70. I'm gonna start at 35. Both lines are in a 4 count, as I talked about, just coming up that shelf, the long line. So I'm gonna put 4 in 5-hole bait ups. The little 5-hole with, it's got 20 gram on. I'm going to put 2 on the bottom and then 2 sort of just under the surface. This is where I'm going to start, hence I'm not putting so much bait in. So look at these first 2 go down just as that braid falls back. It's on the deck. A couple of quick things, obviously on the exchange bait up braid, emptying it nice and clean. Right, I'm going to put 2 more in. Like I said, this is my starting line, so I always feed less because I'm hoping, well, I'd like a quick bite off here. So let that one go down a little bit, quick flick, empty. You can feel it empty out with braid direct. I've got a mix, I don't know if you can see it there. Basically I've got like 2.5 pints of ground bait, 4 or 5 big handfuls of micros, some chopped corn, odd dead maggot. This venue, from what I know of it and what I've seen of it on the few visits, it gets carp fished. So that fish are quite tuned into sort of pellets, fish meal based ground baits, which is what I've got. Them sort of baits. I have got worms as a backup, red worms, etc. But because of where I've drawn, this is quite a breamy sort of area. Normally it's deeper, one of the deeper areas. Make sure I wet this braid up. I fancy being really positive and fishing more of a bream match. So well, I've got the 8-hole now for long. This is at 70 metres. I'm not going to start here, as you can see there. Plenty of pellet, chopped corn. Got to get a feel for the range on this. Not the best chuck I've ever done, that one. See it empty nice and clean. You always get a bit of a feel with your first one. Got quite a high bank behind me as well, which isn't ideal. But now we've got a bit of a rangefinder on it. I'm going to put 8 to 10 in out there. Just need to get a nice feel for how much power I need. I say 12-foot bait up on this one. I bounced that feeder off the floor then, which isn't ideal either. Didn't hit the clip anywhere near as hard as I wanted to. I can do that a lot better, I think. Slightly shorter drop. I like a big drop because of this big bank behind me. It's just making it awkward. I don't mind being not amazingly accurate, but I want to be a bit more accurate than that. Right. There we go, a bit more expansive with the arms. That's better. Get up there. That's the one. Like I say, I don't need them to be on a sixpence, but I need to be hitting the clip better than that second shot did. When it comes to actually fishing it, I've set up a 14-foot Aventus distance. I wouldn't normally use a 14, but it's because of that bank behind me. It's not giving me the same backswing I want. I've also got some bait up windows out. The reason I got them out is, again, they cast a bit better if I'm struggling with this backswing. I think I've got the knack of it now though. Yeah, we're there now. Just had to adjust my casting a little bit. Like I say, if you can see, micros, chopped corn, odd dead maggot. I'm going to put another 6 or 7 in because I want to, my plan is obviously start on that shorter line. I'm not 100% certain that'll be the best line, to, as in I'm going to catch straight away, but get a feel for what's going on. But this is my banker line. Got this area pretty much to myself. Empty that one high. Got it out there to myself, but what I do know is this venue gets carp fished. And on one of my few visits before, I drew 37, and you had to be quite aggressive with the bait. The big difference is today, it's a lot colder. But even so, if I'm not starting on it, I feel like I need some bait out there. Loading it quite loose, so I know it's coming out. Yeah, I found our range now. Always takes a couple of chucks, particularly like I say, it's not ideal with that high bank behind me. I don't like that at all. But you have to get used to it. So this is the 12-foot exchange bait up. I'm going to put, like I say, another 4 or 5 in. Then what I'll do, my plan is to start at 35, have at least half an hour there, and then maybe have a look. Then maybe have a look long. I feel like if I'm going to win, it'll be long. Nice depth there. I reckon it's like 4 count, ounce and a half. I'd say 12 to 15 foot. Like I say, that's right at the bottom of the shelf. If I go another 3 meters, I lose a count. So it's just coming up. So for me, that's a nice holding area for the bream. Sort of area they'd patrol. Like I say, I'm confident that'll be my best line. I'd like them to come short because obviously it'll be a lot easier. I need a shorter drop. But if they don't, then long's where I'm going to get them. Like I say, I'm just mixing it up, emptying a few long, a few up in the air, well not up in the air, on the surface, and a few on the deck. I reckon probably got enough bait in there for 3 more, so we might as well get it all in. Like I said, I mixed up just under 3 pints plus 4 big handfuls of micros, 2 handfuls of corn, chopped corn, and the whole lot will have gone in between the 2 lines. The beauty of these feeders is you can feel when it empties, particularly with braid. Like I say, you might think he's being mega positive here, and I am to a degree, but because I'm not starting on it, I feel like I can be a little bit more aggressive. Get that leaf out, and then once I go on it, sort of just get a feel for whether they've eaten it, or a lot of little tiny fish in here as well. A little bit flatter, that chuck. Good chuck though. Right, I've finished baiting long, so I'm just going to put 1 more in short and then follow it in. I've tried to stagger the line slightly so that long lines at the dead tree and the short lines at the different colour willow, if you want to call it that, just so when I bring it back I'm not reeling one through the other, if that makes sense. Right, so we're starting on a, I don't know if it's like a 5mm orange and yellow wafter, ground bait and pellet mix, 28 gram large hybrid, loading it slightly skinny, wafter on top. It's 14 MWG. I've got some 16s tied up as well. 016 supernatural hook length. Gone for 5-inch. I was like a slightly longer hook length for bream. And a little bit just bayoneted there. That wasn't a great chuck. Tell you what, I'm going to empty that. Just clip that tree on the way out. It's a bit of a parrot cage. If I'm settling in for a longer chuck, this first chuck I might, well, unless it goes straight round, I don't mind putting one in on the surface. Just got to get used to the where I can actually put. I like to bring the rod up, but not all pegs can you do that, especially here. Right, on the short line I should be right sat down. Oh, that's gone. We'll give that a go. It's going to take a while to get down. There we go. Just want to bring it back, being nice and smooth. Like I say, just getting a feel of exactly what the angles I can move my rod on the cast. And obviously that little what do you call it, the hill behind me isn't great, so I'm starting on that. I've got 228 set up. I've got different size hybrids with me, and like I say, I've set a conventional rod up for each line as well. There is loads of little skimmers in here, but water's really clear. I can't see them feeding. My honest opinion is first half hour there's a good chance I won't get a bite, but I'm just letting that long line settle. I think that long line's where I'm going to do the damage, if I'm going to do any damage. And what I might do is, because I've seen it happen and I've spoke to a couple of people this morning, they said what's been happening is been some fish feeding short late. So what I'll do is, if I go long and get an odd bite, I might attack this line, so put a volume in on it for that last hour. I feel like I'm fishing for literally, based on the match results I've looked up on, 6 popper ones and a few £1.5 fish, maybe 4 or 5, so not loads of bites, and it's typical. Is that on? Yeah. Oh, it's come off. That is not the start. I should have picked up on it a little bit earlier. That's not the start I was looking for. A good start as in a bite, but not it coming off right in the middle of the peg. Right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. That would have been the dream, but now it's the nightmare. I'm going to put one more in. What was that, a 2-minute bite, which is incredible. I'm going to put one more in. If I lose a fish like that, I'm not saying it was a bream, but it wasn't a 10 ounce, it wasn't a 6 ounce, it felt like a £1+ fish. Just a funny bite, it was very slow. Right, let's load it back up. Great sign, but a bit of a disaster, as in it's not actually in the net. Right, let's go again. So I've put one in. Something I do a lot on this type of event, you put one in and just follow it. But like I say, if I lose a fish, I feel like I have to, I've got an obsession with that tree. I have to do something to settle it back down. Nice and smooth when you bring the rod back. That's annoying. I think that's one word you'd call it. Very annoying. It's a funny bite. Like, basically I'm on 008 pulse 8 and then a leader of £12 shield. I'd have expected it to be more violent at 35 metres. It was like a slow pull and then fell back as though the feeder had moved, picked up straight off. So not a great start, like I said. Good start as in there was a fish there, bad start as in it's not in the net. So we'll leave it now, and hopefully when you pick up again I'll have a fish on and it won't take too long, because that was ridiculously fast. Shows though that obviously this venue does get carp fished, and that fish has homed in straight away on the bait. It's come to the noise of the bait, maybe because I've emptied a couple on the surface, bait falling through the water. Like I said, this does get carp fished, so they're fishing here are well in tune. I'm guessing with people spodding, pellets, that sort of thing. So that they came to that really quick, and the little bit of experience I've had on here, it was, what was it, August, said that the fish like bait, and that you didn't catch many fish just by boring them on, you had to set it up. So that's the plan. I'm going to try and keep busy-ish, because that bite was 2 minutes. I'm going to give this 5 minutes and then try and keep busy-ish and see what happens. So that's the plan. We've got first fish. It's not a bream. In fact, it's quite small, but it's a bite. Obviously, I had that bite first chuck. It came straight off, which was definitely a bit bigger than this. I just had 2 more chucks, so nothing, and then I just put one in, 5-hole bait up, dropped on top of it, and a quick bite from a very small skimmer. There's loads of these in here, which is why I think to a degree you have to feed quite a lot of bait, but not the size we're after, but at least it's a fish. So I'm going to put one more in, follow it in. I'm itching, I'll be honest. We are 31 minutes in and I'm itching already to get on that long line. I just feel like that's got to have bream on it, or that is where I'm going to catch bream in numbers if they're going to show. I'm not saying I'm not going to get some short here late, because I think I might, but I feel like I'm just going to give it another 15 minutes to let this line settle. I've just actually switched as well to a little 3mm wafter. Well, I haven't, that one was obviously on a 5mm. I've just put a 3mm on this chuck. Little pink and orange duo, still on a 14. Like I say, if I start getting a lot of bites from that size of fish, I will switch it to a 16. But I'll be honest, I don't really want that size of fish. Yeah, it's about taking what's in front of you, but I ain't winning anything with, don't know, what was that, 4 or 5 ounce? Yes, a fish, but not quite what I was after. But we're going to keep busy. I think that's really important, particularly on, I know it's, I keep saying deep, it's not bottomless by any stretch of the imagination, but deeper venues like this, I think being busy is important. Try and drag a few in. It might be I have to slow it down later on, depending obviously on what's happening. There's no toe on it or anything at the minute either, but it's a big lake. I'm going to drop both down to this smaller little tiny wafter just on a little bayonet. I'll just show you in a second. See there, like I say, 5-inch hook length, 0.16. I've got the light white elastic in, the lighter one, just because of the size of fish. I can't see, I can only see one other angler. I've not seen him catch. I did hear him talking to the guy next to him and he said he'd had a skimmer. Like I say, I'm still annoyed by the early lost fish, but such is life. There's obviously some small fish eating the bait because I've just caught that little skimmer, and there's a grebe, which we get a lot of grebes on this type of water, and I never think them going through your swim is great, particularly for the smaller fish. I'm not convinced the bigger bream are bothered by them so much, but there's a couple working up and down now, so I'm going to stick with what I'm doing. Literally 34 minutes in, and probably at least 10 minutes of that was took baiting up. The decision I've got, I'm going to give it literally another 11 minutes on this, and I don't know whether to put one in long and follow it in with a 45 gram large hybrid, or just to chuck out there and see what's there. I don't want to over push it, but I like to know I'm over bait. I can probably be a bit more patient out there as well, because I feel like I'm bream fishing out there. I don't know, I'm bream fishing on both lines, but I'm hoping there'll be less chance of little fish out there. I've not had any. Oh, that was. There is some carp. No, it's a grebe. Yeah, there is obviously little fish on all lines, but I've not had any liners or anything to make me think. Other than that, literally ridiculously fast bite at the start, which come off instantly, which was, I don't know, I'm not. It was definitely over a pound. I felt it for long enough to know it was a pound plus fish. So what I'm thinking is 9 more minutes on this. If nothing's really happening, I think I'll put one in on the long line. Oh, is that on? Yeah, that's a bit big. That's a bit bigger. It's not a bream, but it's a bit bigger. You have to be really careful playing smaller skimmers. To be honest, this feels more like that first fish was, and it's not actually that big. You have to be really careful playing these smaller skimmers on hybrid. They have a horrible tendency just to bounce themselves off. That was a 3-minute bite. This actually feels just like that first fish, so maybe it wasn't actually as big as I thought it was. So I'm trying to keep everything nice and smooth and low, and net it just as it pops up, a little bit bigger. But on that little tiny wafter, so it might be I need to fish smaller hook baits. What's that one? 6-7 ounce maximum, I'd have said. Tell you what, we'll put one more in because we're getting a response. Like I say, I'm keen to keep busy and give myself a chance of better fish. Cracking bite, that one. Emptying it on the surface at the minute because it's working. If there was a bit of a toe on, I probably wouldn't, or I'd at least let it go a bit further down. But I'm quite happy to get a cloud going up in the water. Literally, that was a 3-minute bite. There's obviously quite a few small skimmers. I'd like them to be a bit bigger than that. When that went, I actually thought that was going to be a bream. It was a cracking bite, but that was first cast on that little 3mm wafter. Let's follow it in again. Like I said, I do think bream are more likely to come on that long line. Clipping that tree is really annoying as well. It's taking a while to get, let's say it's on the deck. Click my 2 skimmers onto counter 1. So I'm literally, even if this goes with another small skimmer, I'm going to have a look long. I think I'm just in that conundrum about putting one in or not. Seems like a daft thing to agonise over, but I feel like I'd be more confident putting one in. Oh, a little skimmer comes straight off. There's a lot of little fish there now. That felt like it was like an ounce. I'll have one more quick look. While it's nice to get bites, I'm not sure a bream's going to come in amongst them. So we'll have another. That felt like, well, tiny. It would have been a swinger. That sort of size fish are a nightmare for just bouncing themselves off, even on that light elastic. It's nice to get bites, obviously, but I think that long line is the one. I know I keep saying it, but we're literally 6 minutes away from having a look. I think what I'm going to do is put one in and then see what happens. Put one in, follow it in, and see if any bream are out there. And then if they are, I might be a little bit more aggressive on this line with a bit more chopped corn, put a bit more bait in. At the minute I'm fishing this line really to try and nick an odd fish at the start. Guy next to me's just gone in on the pole. I've got literally like plenty of room out there on the feeder line. Got that long line in particular all to myself, which is why I was a bit more aggressive with it. It's just hard when you don't know quite how the fish are going to respond. Like I say, it's not a venue I know very well. So 2 fish in the net, but going to need a lot more than that if we're going to do any good. Right, we are 45 minutes in, just them 2 skimmers. So it's time to have a look long, but I'm going to put one in just because that's my gut, and then follow it in. I just like knowing there's a bit of bait here, and I've had a bit of a response to putting bait in on that short line. So we'll put the one in. I'm going to switch to the 45 gram large hybrid. Obviously just 14 foot eventless distance. I'd normally do it with 13, but as I said, there's that horrible bank behind me which doesn't give me the normal backswing. I'm not seeing much caught. The lad of my left's on the pole. Seen him have one tiny fish. Stay on that little wafter for the time being. That's the one, I think, if we're going to catch bream. Nice and careful not to move anything. Just obviously got to adjust the rod because of the extra foot, or extra 2 foot. I was on a 12 foot. Aventus Steve Ringer on the other rod. I say this is a 14 foot just to make it easy. I'm a massive believer in making casting easy because you've got to be able to reach the fish. Just going to get another 45 gram ready. Might put go back to the 5mm wafter. Like I said, it'd be nice if this just tanked straight round, but that sort of thing often doesn't happen. Like I say, I'm feeling my way in with the feeding. Because I'm not quite sure whether I'm being a bit too gung-ho, but worst case scenario, I'll slow it down obviously as the day progresses. But at the minute, don't know what's happening up to my right, but to my left it looks pretty slow. Not hearing many feeders going in and out either, which sort of says there's not a lot of bites. It's just that time of year, you see. Well, I didn't know if they were going to feed. Fish were going to go mad straight away and they want to come to bait. And when we came here early in the year for Super League, which is the only time I've really fished here, I know it's a totally different time of year, but it's all I've got to go on. These pegs were notorious late pegs. Like last 2 hours the bream seemed to come and sit on that shorter line. But when I plumbed it, it just felt so nice on this long line, just at the bottom of that shelf, not a silly distance out, 70 metres. But the thing is with bream, until you get one, you never quite know whether what you're doing is right. You know, it's like worms. I've got worms with me, but I've never really heard of worms being amazing on here. It seems to be more of a modern bream venue, as in hybrid feeder, obviously wafters, pellets, chopped corn. Chopped corn seems really good on it. They like sweet corn. Like I say, I've got rods set up to fish traditional as well, but if I start getting a few signs and no, then maybe I'll switch it up. But at the minute I'm happy with just chucking the hybrid. That's what I've been told is a good way of fishing on it, and that's what was good in July, like I say, which is all I can really base it on. Not seeing any bream moving. It'd just be nice to get an early bream. But like I say, we're fishing for 20, well, based on the previous few matches, we're fishing for 20 odd pound, which 5 or 6 bigger fish and a few bits. We've got 2 bits. We just need a bigger fish, but it might be I have to be patient. That's the other thing. I'm not sure on casting times. I've been fishing like 5 to 6 minutes, but maybe, I mean, with the water being a little bit clearer, I'm going to have to be a bit more patient. I'll give this one 6 minutes, having said all that, and then I'll chuck straight back in again. I'm not going to put another bait up in because that seems pointless at the minute. No one else is doing that, so maybe I've been a bit gung-ho. So I'll just go straight back in over the top with the 5mm wafter. Maybe have a 10-minute then if it doesn't go. Well, hopefully it'll go inside 10. But it looks, I mean, I'm opposite the arm. Even if the fish spook a bit, you'd think they'd back off into the arm, and then if they want to feed, they'll come back my way. Either that, obviously, or they could just swim off the match length, but I'm remaining optimistic because there's enough room here, you know, when they could sit left and right if they want to get out of the way. It's just a question of when. I do think they will feed. It's just a question of when. Like I say, I'm in great water out there. Literally got it to myself. That might be because the locals know the bream are all short. But I know there's bream been caught here long. Like particularly on, well, 37 catches long. Oh, had a tiny little indication then. Not sure if it was a little fish at the wafter or a bigger fish around the feeder. So we're coming up to 6 minutes, but I'll give it another minute and a half. It was just like a half-inch pull, quite slow actually. Definitely an indication. Like I say, there's no, you know, when the locals say they do, and I did see in July where they were, they rolled, but we're not in July. So, and like I think in July, like where he is, he'd have had a bite every chuck on pole, and at the minute I've seen him have one little fish. So there's obviously not loads feeding. And it could be it's going to be a last, all the damage will be done last 2 hours, and maybe I need to get this positive feeding mentality out of my head a little bit and just take what comes. I honestly thought that I might just chuck this out and it'd just go straight round. But plenty of time. Well, we are nearly an hour and a half in, and not much is happening. My banker line obviously was my long line. I was convinced that was going to go straight round. Never had a sign there. Well, I had that tiny little indication first chuck. So I've come back short, but nothing's up. I did put 2 in short, had a 10-minute chuck long, dropped in short, not moved, so I'm just putting 1 in now. I'm going to follow it back in just to see. My problem is I don't quite know whether there's just not any feeding bream here at the minute, or I'm not doing it right. I don't know whether I need to be a bit more patient. Like I've had a couple of 10-minuters now, but that's not produced. And my style is, I like to be a bit more aggressive. So I'll just put 1 in again, and I'm going to follow it just to see whether that gets a response, and if it doesn't, then I can start to maybe think I need to start slowing this down a bit. I haven't put any more bait in long. I'll be honest, completely gobsmacked. You know what they say about great plans? That was my big plan, and it's not happened. I'm loath now to like keep attacking the long line, because like I can only see one. I can see the guy on my left, he's not caught much. I heard they say the guy on the end, he'd have 1 2.5 pound and a couple of little ones. That was about 20 minutes ago. Don't know anything about what's going on to the right, but listening for like, no one seems to be very busy. So maybe I've just underestimated the conditions a little bit. The only thing I don't know much about this venue, but when we came here for the Super League final, this was a late area. Didn't catch anything first half of the match normally. It wasn't a good small fish area either, which is why I've not bothered with it. It was a late area for bream. I just honestly thought that I'd get on that long line, I'd get a quick response. But bear in mind, you've got to think £20 been winning the matches, so it's not fishing as well as it does obviously in the height of summer. I'm just a bit surprised by the long line more than anything. Not that I didn't get a little fish out there, that I haven't had a bream. Just the fact I've got all that water to myself. made me think that was nailed on, especially for a decent start. Like I said, I've just put one in now and followed it in. That's been sort of my game plan from the start, other than on that long line, where I did put sort of 10 in, 10 8 holes. It's just always hard to know what's been eaten and what hasn't. But I need a bite. I need a bigger fish to sort of tell me, give me a sort of a path to follow at the minute. Like I said, I don't mind being a bit more aggressive on this short line, but it's just how to feed that long line. I don't know whether you need quite, now the water's gone a bit clearer than it was obviously when I came in July, whether being a bit quieter is going to be key. They're not going to respond to feeders going in and out and being busy, which I'm sort of getting the impression listening, no one's very busy. So it could be a case of more of you put your bait in, set your trap, and you have to wait. Like I said, the one thing I do know is when the Super League final was on here, this one and the one on my right, 34 and 35, were the last 2 hours, was everything. Like they ended up here, they didn't start here. I just felt today with a bit more room, maybe they'd start here, or maybe there'd be some fish, particularly on, like I said, on that long line. I do feel like I can get one, I can get 2, 3, 4, 5, but I just need that little, I need that first one, just, or a couple of signs just to say to me, right, this is where you need to be fishing, this is how you need to be feeding it. But at the minute it seems very, very quiet. Like there was a few little fish there, obviously first 40 minutes, they've completely vanished now. I don't know whether that's too much bait or just the nature of the time of year. Like I say, he's not caught anything on pole up to my left, and they have been catching on pole. So it could just be it's a hard day. But again, these are all conundrums you're faced with when you don't know a venue very well. So I'm going to have this chuck, it's been out 4 minutes. And if no bites, I'm going to go back long, because I still believe long's my best chance of a bream. A couple of pike boats about as well. There's one up the arm, which I did think might push the fish out, and there's one coming down from the left as well. Obviously it's well-known pike fishery this time of year from the boats, but like the one at the arm, I did think, as you can hear, he's just up in anchor. If there was any bream up there, it might push him down my way a bit. But like I say, I just need that kicker fish to get me going. I've not had a liner or anything where you think, oh, there's a bream there. So, but the plan is, going to give this till 8 minutes, I reckon, maybe 10, then go back long without feeding anything. I can't keep feeding for no response, and at the minute there's not much response. What I'm thinking is, if I don't get a response by the halfway point, I might put 5 or 6 in on the short line and just leave it alone for an hour, see if I can get something to settle. Because if I'm going to catch late, I think it's on this 35 metre line, because that's all the information I have to go on from when I was here before. Obviously different time of year, that they might just rock up. But like I say, that this lure boat opposite might influence my decision making. If he drops anchor on my 70 metre line, then that won't be ideal. But give this another 3 minutes, and hopefully the next time you see me, I'll be bent into a big bream, well, a 3 pound plusser. Like I'm surprised how things are going, but the only person I can see isn't catching any more than me either, so it could just be an area thing. We've just got to wait for our chance. I've got one. Well, I updated you on an hour and a half. I was obviously on my 35 metre line. I decided not to put any more bait in long, so I've gone back out, and on 5 minutes we've got a fish. I'm not sure it's massive, but it's a fish. I was starting to get a little bit worried. But first chuck back, if they're not liking disturbance, which I've got a feeling they're not, first chuck back's always going to be a best chance, and that's what's happened with this. So it could be that I've been a little bit too busy. I'm hoping this is a better fish. From that sort of range, it's hard to tell. Oh, it's come off. I don't believe it. We're having one of those days at the minute. On the plus side, it's a bite. On the downside, it's not in the net. I couldn't really tell you how big it was. It wasn't a 6 ouncer though. But I don't think it was a 3 pounder either, but we'll go back out and see if we can do a bit better this chuck. Oh. I'm hiding my disappointment really well. Said no one ever. Good sign is in a bite, but horrific sign that it's not actually in the net. So see, the only plus is it was first chuck back, which intimates that maybe you don't need to feed a lot of bait. So I don't know whether to put a 16 on. Like I say, I've lost a couple of fish now. It is the nature of the beast when fishing hybrid. Don't know whether a smaller hook's nice and sharp. Like I said, I wouldn't have said it felt like a pound fish, but at the minute a pound fish would be very, very welcome. And to say I'm annoyed is an understatement. I'm going to have a rethink. I might put a 16 on. Sounds daft. People are thinking, why not go bigger? I'm thinking smaller hook, maybe a littler bait. Tell you what, we'll put a 16 Super MWG barbed on. And I'll put a little tiny wafter on again, just to see, because when you're not getting many bites, losing them isn't the one. Straight back in. As I was tightening up on 2 minutes, I had a sign. And then on 4 minutes it's gone round again. I'm still on the I thought I'd lost it then. I was about to have a proper strop. The sign looked like a slightly bigger fish as well. I've just literally got the 16 ready to go next chuck. I really could do with getting this out, so I'm actually going somewhere. It's not a big fish, but which I think is part of the problem. When you bring in a fish in that's not huge, from 70 metres on a hybrid, they can bounce themselves off, which is why I'm taking my time. Confidence is about zero as in landing one at the minute. Oh, just had a little kick then. We're getting there. This is the closest we've got to getting one in. Let's have a look. I'm just interested to see how big it actually is. Not bad. Not bad. I reckon that's the same as the one I lost. What, pound and 3/4? See, I look at that, and that was never. I hooked him in the tail. That was never ever coming off. So you think, how did the others come off? But they did. But that's 2 bites in 2 chucks, and a good sign that my long line's starting to pay off. And also that at the minute I don't need to be feeding loads of bait. Like I say, maybe set off a little bit too gung-ho on the short line, but if I start to get odd bites on this long line now, what I'll do is I'll start topping up the short line more regular for a big finish, hopefully. Just swung that a little tiny bit. Tell you what, let's put it bang on the mark. It was a yard to the right of where I want it to be. When you've just had 2 fish, you want it bang on. Well, didn't have 2 fish, should have had 2. Like I said, I could just do with a 3-pounder now as like a kicker, just to say we're back in the race, so to speak. To be fair, we've only been going not been going 2 hours. It just feels like a long time when you've not been getting many bites. See if we can hit the spot with this one. That's better. That's the one. It's gone in nice as well. Just put that smaller wafter on this chuck. I'll click that as a big skimmer rather than a little skimmer. But I definitely had like a 2-3 inch liner just before that, which is the first sign I've had where I thought, oh, that's a bigger fish in the swim. So I'm on a 16 on this chuck. Bite time, the last 2 bites have both been like 4 odd minutes. I'm going to alternate between the 16 and the 14, just to see whether I think there's any one's better than the other, so to speak. That was on a little orange and yellow duo, a 5mm. Well, like I said, I've gone back in with a 3mm, which I know they do catch on here because people have said. But it was interesting that I had the sign and then had the bite. That's good. I just could do with something else now. Well, dead on 4 minutes again, the very next chuck. It's gone round lovely. Oh, I thought it'd come off again. This is on the 16 and that little tiny wafter, little 3mm. Just going to try and keep it nice and smooth all the way back. But that's 3 bites in 3 casts. I could just do with this hitting the net. It's weird how you lose 1 fish and your confidence evaporates. But on the plus side, the long line's finally starting to come good, it feels. Weird how literally 3 bites, every single one, in the late 4 minutes, sort of 4:30 to 4:55. I'll never understand how you get a pattern like that. Whoa, a few head nods. If it wasn't for the distance and the bank, I'd like to have used a softer rod, I'll be honest. But as I said before, you've got to be able to cast there first. Get these leaves out. It's a bit bigger, is it? Yeah, a little bit bigger. That's on that little wafter. What's that? That one's a couple of pound. Like I say, really well up. That wasn't coming off. Don't know, 2 1/4. So all of a sudden, from having 8 ounces in the net, we've got 4.5 pound, and we're starting to move somewhere. So I think if I get a bite this chuck out there, because you've always got to be thinking 1 step ahead, I'll put 3 in short, because I feel like that could give me a winning flurry at the end, and I'm conscious of the fact I might need it as well. But 3 bites, 3 chucks. It's not bad. Be nice to get a really quick bite. I reckon it's like 12 15 foot there. Being really careful not to move that feeder. Great bites when you get one. Bear in mind I'm on 008 pulsate braid, 12 pound shield shot leader. Change the wafter. But at last I do feel like, I thought I had a little indication again before it, so it's like, you feel like there's an odd fish milling around out there. But I do feel that short line could really kick on, but I've got to keep it. So that could be my throwaway line now, as in keep feeding that line. You know, my main line is without doubt this line now. I just needed them to find it. Literally, look, just that little time. That was on that little 3mm, 16 Super MWG barbed, 016 Supernatural. I like to make the feeders up as I go along, which is why bait it up, leave it in the bowl. I just feel they break down a bit quicker. It almost seals itself. It's alright in the summer, but when I want, oh, hang on, we've got another one. Whoa, that was a big kick. That was what I was talking about, as in a quick bite. It's like 1 minute 40, that one. Doesn't feel as big, but it's bites. Amazing, like you literally sit there in the pit of despair, if you want to call it that. Then all of a sudden, you think you're going to get one a chuck. But at least I feel like, what, we're 2 and a bit hours in, I'm back in the match to a degree. Like I said, I've got very little idea other than the guy on my left, who has had a couple of skimmers recently, but small. I've got no idea how anyone else is doing at all. But it's nice to be actually getting bites now. Whoa. Important just to take your time. I'm not sure how big this one is. Oh, shocking bit of netting. Got away with it. I wouldn't describe them as bream, because it depends where you live, I guess. But they're weighers, if you know what I mean. Again, really well hooked, that one, right through the bottom. That's a couple of pound. That was on the bigger wafter. Quicker bite, might be quicker bite, obviously with a bigger hook bait, but we'll have another go on the little wafter. I'm trying to get it so it sits right on top. If I just show you, so I'm loading it quite fat now, because I feel like there's fish there. Then wafter goes on last. If I didn't pull it off the top, I'm really particular about. And then literally just tidy the ball up, and I'll show you it. You can see the wafter just sticking through. Lovely depth there. If this doesn't go, I'll flick both rigs back to the 14 and the bigger hook bait. That was interesting that was such a quick bite. That's how I'd want them. Obviously we all want quick bites, but in an ideal world. Oh, was that a sign straight away? I'm not sure. The braid's it's quite high pressure, so the braid seems to be floating up. That was on an orange and yellow 5mm duo. So if I'm going to get regular, I would be more confident on the slightly bigger hook bait. So added a few more pellets to my mix as well, so you can see there's quite a bit of food in there, because I'm not topping up obviously. I'm taking fish, well, I'm just taking what's there. Like I said, I did tell you I was going to put another one in, some more bait in short, but I'm keen to make hay while the sun shines, if you know what I mean. That's 4 bites in 4 chucks. Right, lost one, but all of a sudden we've got £6 I reckon now, after 2 hours 10 minutes, which shows how quick things can change when you're bream fishing or bream and skimmer fishing. It's just that question now of how I manage it. I don't know whether I'm going to need to top that up, that long line, or just have to keep resting it, or if I rest it and put 2 in. That's the decision. While I'm getting bites, obviously I'm just going to keep taking them, but I'll be surprised if the bites last forever. So I'm just getting a bit of a bait up mix ready for when I want to feed. Adding a few dead reds to it, a few casters now as well, just so there's plenty of particle on. So what I'll do is, I reckon I'm going to switch on the short bait up rod, which is an 11-foot exchange, which you're privy to because it's not out yet. I'm going to put a bigger bait up on, get rid of the 5-hole, maybe put the 7-hole on, and just put 2 in. If you can see all that, loads of particles, and just keep setting that up. Like I said, I don't quite know what my plan is long in terms of topping it back up. I think what I'm going to do is have this chuck, hopefully it'll go. If it doesn't, put 2 or 3 in short, go back long for another chuck with a bigger hook bait on with a 5mm, just see if that gets a bite, see if they see that better. If they don't, then I might have to put 1 in, just to see. If I don't get a response off the 1, then I obviously need to rest it. So I'm going to take the 5-hole off this one, because I need to be a bit more aggressive with the bait, as in I don't want to have 4 chucks when I can have 2. So we'll put the 7-hole on with, 30 gram on. And then if I don't get a bite this chuck, I'm going to put 2 in, go back long with a lot bigger hook bait, and just try and work it out. I had 4 bites in 4 casts. It's just that topping up's the conundrum now. I had that little flurry and then literally nothing. I had 2 chucks of nothing, so I wetted up my ground bait. It's like a heavy stodge. I put 2 in on the long line with the 8-hole. Had a chuck short, 35, 6 minutes, nothing. Chucked it back out, had a 10-minute, 2 indications like little liners. Next chuck I clipped one on the way down, you know when your feeders just sink in, so I thought there's one there. So I thought I'd try and be a little bit busier. And then this has gone on a minute. I still haven't really worked out whether I need to be feeding or not, I'll be honest. Or just resting. I made some like heavy slop on the base. Well, it's not slop, it's like clag. That I can empty it on the surface nice and clean, but it's going to sink. So I don't know. My honest opinion is I haven't worked it. It's like stuck on something then. Like it got stuck on, I don't know if there's a ledge there or what. But it felt like it was stuck behind something. but it's another fish. Like I say, I don't think they're catching much on my left. I can't hear loads of casting. That's a better fish. That's the one. I can't hear loads of casting to my right, so it doesn't sound like they're emptying it. That was such a quick bite. If I show, if you see that there, all my bait's still in my feeder. I'd like a slightly quicker breakdown time than that. I'm not going to hold that one up in case he flips. Right, that's £3 plus. That's more like what we're looking for. But literally, most of the bait was still in the feeder, but it was a quick bite. I would like I might have to look at my mix a little bit, because I'd like a slightly quicker breakdown than that. But then again, we've had the fish, which is that's the important part. But I don't ideally like it. I've just wetted up my mix a little bit, so maybe I've over wet it slightly and it's gone a little bit too claggy. But that's that's like, I reckon that's 3.5, so I'm getting up towards £10 with what, 2 hours 5 minutes to go, and if 20 is enough, then obviously I'm got the best 2 hours in theory ahead of me. So the chuck before, I just clipped one as it was going down. I feel like they might, obviously when you clip one it means they're sat up off bottom, so it could be, let's flick that rest, they're sat up off the bottom. But like I said, I haven't had an immediate response at all to topping a swim up, which is, I don't know if it's the fact, obviously a bait up feeder makes a lot of noise, there's a little bit of a ripple on, the water's clear, it's obviously a bit cooler, so they're backing away. So that's the mystery part of it at the minute to me. As in, it's like I've kept baiting that short line, but there doesn't seem to be anything there, so I'm going to ease off that altogether, and next time I need it as a resting line, I'll see whether there's, oh, what's that? I thought I had a little tiny tap then. Next time I'll just go straight in rather than keep putting a bait up in. I've got no real evidence that since that first half an hour when there was a few little skimmers there, anything's actually getting eaten. I'm just going to add a bit of drier ground bait to the mix, just so, because I didn't like the way that was still in the feeder, even though obviously it produced a bite. I'm loading it hard because it's deep water and I need to know. Obviously it's getting down. I did think about chucking the conventional, but it'd be really difficult because of the bank behind me with a longer hook length. So I'm going to stick to what, oh, that was definitely a sign then. So I'm going to stick to what I'm doing, because at least I know I'm fishing properly. Whereas if I even put a 50cm hook length on, pretty sure it's going to be on the floor behind me, which, as I didn't bring a casting mat, isn't ideal. I don't know, you lose a bit of confidence. But like I say, when I dropped back in short, I only had a 6-minute chuck just to rest this line, but it never even had an indication. So you have to think the bait's just, well, I'm certainly not pulling fish on that line by being busy putting that bait up in. So I think maybe give it a rest, let it settle, and see if that works, see if any fish just come over the bait when it's quiet. I always think you've got to drag them down, but like I said, maybe we're just a little bit late in the year for that. Bites have been quick though. I've had probably 4 10-minute minimum chucks, maybe a couple of 12, and I've not had a bite past 4 minutes 55ish, which sort of says when they're there, they're not saying they're chasing it down, but they're not taking long to find it. But you'd think if they were spooking off the feeder, you'd better leave it in and get a pull. It's almost like when they're there, and when they're not, they're not. So we're literally 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 minutes. I'm probably going to want, well, I don't know what I'm going to want because I don't know what's been caught. But if £20 the target, I'm going to want another 4 or 5 bites, which doesn't sound a lot. But getting them is not easy, to say the least. This is just coming up to that magical 4-minute mark. But as I say, the first 3 were like, well, I lost one of them. They were all sort of 4:30 to 4:55, and then the last 2 have been really quick bites. I'm leaving the hook bait high on the feeder as well to try and get it out quick, to give myself a chance on that quick bite. I don't see any point chucking a smaller. Could try. I might, thinking out loud, I might get a medium 42 out, just to see if that'll go in with a little bit less splash, a little bit smaller feeder. Just to see. I feel like they want bait though, that's the problem. But it's worth one chuck. So I think what I'll do, I'll re-chuck this. This is getting up to 15 seconds from 5 minutes. This is in the bite time now. But no one's told the fish. Like I said, I definitely had 2 indications straight away. So I'm gonna load this up and then chuck it in and get a 42 gram medium out, just to see. Maybe this feeder's going in a little bit heavy, and something that goes in a little bit quieter might settle the fish more and get a quicker response. Like I say, this is up to 5 minutes 30 now, so I'm going to give it the extra 20 seconds and then chuck this again, then get that 42 medium out. And if it don't go round that chuck, I'll have one chuck on it. I've got nothing to lose. There's definitely an odd fish there now. I just don't know whether they need more bait to settle them, or I just need to settle everything down and just take the bites when they come. Right, another chuck. Never got time to put the 42 on because I chucked it back out after I last spoke to you. I clipped one again right on the deck, felt like it kicked the feeder off, so I reeled it straight back in, chucked it back out, and we've got a 3-minute bite. So that might be a tactic, which when it's something I do, rather than keep putting the bosher in when I don't get one, just chuck my fishing feeder in once, empty it, bring it back and chuck back out. I do feel there's fish, not loads of fish there, but there's an odd fish coming in now. It's just a case they're just not settling, probably because of the time of year, weather, water being clear, obviously not much ripple. But I'm hoping with just under 2 hours to go that maybe we can get a good finish. I don't know what to do with that shorter line. Not as big as the last one, but it's a weighter, as they say. A couple of pound, definitely. Really well hooked. Makes you think, how the hell does one ever come off? I'm not going to put the 42 on this chuck now, just because I'm loath to change anything when you've just had a fish. I just think it'd be silly to waste a chuck when maybe there's a few fish starting to feed. Yeah, maybe when I get a dead spell, which I've had plenty of them, I need to see if I clip one this time. Hopefully not. I don't like clipping fish. I feel like it spooks them. Yeah, maybe if I get a dead spell this time, I'll just have a chuck and chuck back on top, rather than picking the bait up. Or I could put a 50 gram bait up, like the 5-hole in, so less bait, less disturbance. These are all the problems you face with when you're learning on the spot, if that makes sense. It's a lot better when you know a venue, come in, week out, and you know exactly, particularly with this style of fishing. I think on commercials you can work it out quicker, purely because there's more fish. Whereas on big natural venues, I don't know, bream can be moody at the best of times. You have to try and go with what you know, as in previous experience, etc. But there's no substitute for obviously fishing somewhere regular. Like I said, my conundrum at the minute is this long line's great, but I'd love a run off that shorter line. So I don't know whether I, in the next 10 minutes, put another 3 in there and then just leave it till the last hour and have a quick drop on it, just to see whether they've just rocked up on it. My problem is I don't feel like there's enough bait there to get them just to sit on it. But then I fed quite a lot of bait out there for not like an instant. I've never been able to, other than when I've with my fishing feeder, I've not been able to put a bait up it and chuck in and catch a fish straight away. Not since that first 20 minutes, which I think now was a bit of a smoke screen. Like I said, this is the issue when you're learning on the job, as they say, and you've got very little to go on other than a few visits when it was a lot warmer than this. Don't get me wrong, it's great weather for October, but I still think the fish know when the weather's getting worse. Well, when the water temperature's definitely dropped a lot. You can tell that by the water clarity. So we've got 1:50. I'm probably on £12. If £20 is going to be enough, looking at like 4 or 5 more bites, maybe less if the stamp's good. But I do feel like that short line really needs to produce. If the short line doesn't produce, I could be in trouble. It all went quiet. I don't know, all day I felt like I'm not going to catch without feeding something, but equally they're not quite responding to the 8-hole. I wasn't quite convinced I could get the 5-hole there with the reduced drop, so I've just put 2 bait up windows in with some drier ground bait with a few micros, and then topped up the short line again because I still want that line to have a chance. That's really important. I think like a lot of people make the mistake, they forget about when they're doing 2 lines, they forget the second one once they've caught a few fish. So I've topped that one back up, chucked it out, and on 4 minutes we've got a fish, which is the first time I've had a response to baiting up. So it could just be that window just goes in a lot nicer. It's obviously easier to chuck as well with the bank behind me, because obviously all the weight's in the nose. So I'm hoping maybe I'm onto something, so maybe I can use that window. As soon as it goes quiet, just put one in. It's definitely some sort of snag. Whoa, some sort of snag there. I seem to get stuck. I'm not going to put another window in now. I'm just going to hopefully net this. That's a better fish. Big reach. Yeah, I needed that one. Obviously go straight back in rather than, that's a 3-pounder. Heavy fish, that one. But I do feel I'm not going to just catch odd fish on the long line till the end. I'm going to need at least to have a chance on that short line. I'm not going to feed it again now though. I've literally put another 2 in. Bear in mind I'll probably put another 7 or 8 different size bait ups in there since I last had a bite. But I feel like this is the time of day when if them bream are going to feed properly, it's now. Oh, I've pushed that one a bit too. Yeah, I don't like that. Slightly left. It's weird, you just like, although it's literally a yard to the left, I want it to be perfect. I feel that's really important when you're not fishing for loads of fish, that when you do chuck in and leave it, you are bang on. It's just a confidence thing. I mean, I could have left that and there could have been one sitting off the bait. If I was catching steady, I would have left it. But because every bite's like a mini victory, I'd rather it was perfect. That's better. That's the line. Yeah, it's just confidence. Didn't clip one that time. Like I say, we got, I just feel like the last hour there could be a run. But it might come on that short line, which is why I'm still taking time out to keep baiting it up. Just so you've seen it. That's the, obviously I'll put 2 in of my actual fishing mix, 50 gram bait up window. Just goes in a lot quieter than obviously the big exchange. It might just be that it's too, just that time of year when they're not coming to noise as much. But anyway, it caught me a fish, so it was well worth doing. I was literally, it got to 4 minutes 58 and I was just about to reel it in and I had a little tiny indication, so I thought I'll just leave it another minute. Dead on the minute, it's gone again. Obviously we're losing the wind now, so it could be that they're going to be even more spooky. But starting to get a little bit of rhythm, I feel like. I was just thinking as well about that shorter line. When it went calm, there's an odd bubble there. This place does fierce as a venue, but there was an odd bubble there and I thought, oh, is it worth? But then I'm never one to come off fish when I'm catching, and also the grebes are working my shorter line as well, which I don't like. I don't think it settles the fish, although there's one on my long line at the minute as well, so. We've still got like an hour and 20 odd to go. So I feel like if I can manage my swim well, a good £20 definitely on the cards. What's that one? I reckon. £2.5. I've lost track of where I'm, but I think I'm up to like £17 now. And in my head, the best period still to come, providing of course can manage my swim well. So I was just in the process of making a ball when that went. I didn't like that, so I'm just going to redoing it. Again, keeping the hook bait high so you can just see it. Nice. It's really gone calm now, which I don't know, I don't think this place ever gets that windy. But like I said, there was an odd bubble coming up on the shorter line. But what I'll do is keep fishing until obviously I stop catching, and then I'll maybe put 2 more windows in. I feel like that window's the way. It's just a bit quieter. Just fishing these 5mm orange and pinks, orange and pink, orange and yellow. That was the longest bite I've had, as in the longest it's been in, but I did have an indication as though there was a fish around the feeder. Might not have been around the feeder, could have been anywhere. But when I had the little indication, I thought it's worth giving it. And I always think that if you get an indication, I always like to give it another minute, particularly when I'm on a hybrid, because I feel like I know everything's fishing well, so it could be a fish right near the feeder, just feeding. It's just a case of waiting for it to find the hook bait in my head as in what happened there. So we'll see. But on paper, if it's fishing, our previous results have led me to believe it's going to fish, I'm doing all right. And I've still got that. I'm not saying it's going to go round at all. I've still got the chance to drop onto that 35, which I know back in July, that's where they seem to be. They seem to come in short on in this area late on, which is why, as I've said, I've kept baiting here because I might need it. And there's nothing worse than suddenly thinking they've come short and you've given up on the line and stopped feeding it. It's so easily done. We've all done it. We start catching and we're like, oh, I won't need my other line. An hour later, you can't get a bite and they start catching on the shorter line and you haven't fed it. It might just be I need it as a resting line, but at least when I drop in there, I feel like there's a chance. But I might be a little bit more, because it's gone flat calm. Oh, hang on, there's another one. That was a quick one, 2 minutes 40. That's how I want them. Obviously, beggars can't be choosers, as they say, but that's how I wanted them to come. But like I say, I'm not going to feed again until the fish tell me. If it was a bit warmer, I'd be netting this, putting 2 in. But today the fish just haven't said that's what they want. I mean, and I've fed quite a bit of bait. I bet I've fed, I don't know, 3 pints of ground bait out there, 1.5 pints of pellets, micros, probably a tin of chopped corn. So there's a bit of bait gone out. Doesn't sound a lot when you say it like that though. But that's a good sign, a quick bite. So maybe they're starting to get their heads down. Hopefully it's a better fish. It's hard to tell. Like I said, I'd like to have used a 13-foot eventless distance, but the bank behind me has made that impossible. What's that one? I reckon another £2, so I'm virtually, yeah, good couple of pound. Got to be close to my £20 target now with hour and 18 minutes to go, and hopefully the best hour and 18. There's certainly signs that I finally got the feeding right. My distance was right anyway. I think it's really important, like I've got my own bit of water out there, and that definitely helps. And if they've been backed off early, they can go up that arm opposite, which is good, rather than going left and right. So again, just keeping that wafter on view, so you can just see it there. Orange and yellow, 5mm, 14 Super MWG, little bayonet to obviously mount it. It's not bad. It's very slightly left, but I'm definitely not unhappy with that. If they can't swim a foot, then they've got a problem. So no, finally, well, not finally, since that first half an hour was pretty desperate, but I think that was a little bit on me, a bit too positive. Now I'm hoping we're going into the best period of the match. We've got literally, I think, 7 minutes to go now, and I've had 3 more bream. I've had 2 more off this short line, on my 35, and then I've had 1 out the blue on the long line. The long line seems to have gone now. I'm not quite sure why, time of day. Maybe the bream have just moved in, as it moved in closer to the bank. Oh, so I've just literally been back long for 1 shot. I'm going to finish the match. What we got? Look, 6.5 minutes. I'm going to finish it short. When I first went back in short, I caught that 1, then didn't get another 1, then had another fish long, first chuck back, then I got 2 in 2, and I had a few signs like there was a few there, but then it just petered out again, like they say, they didn't settle. So I just put a bait up in 8-9 minutes ago, and I've just literally dropped it in now, and it will be in. Might get 2 chucks before the end, maybe, because I wasn't over the moon with that chuck. If this doesn't go, I might have 1 chuck like half a metre past, just at the back of the bait, just to see if I can nick a quick one. But I reckon I must have close to £30, if not £30, which after an hour and a half when I was on 6 ounces I'd have taught. And I feel like I've had a decent, not had a perfect match, because you're learning as you go along. So, but I've had a decent match. That switching to the bait up window definitely seemed a bit better, a bit less disturbance. I think if I came back, I'd put a little bit more in at the start long, like a little sign then. And then I'd have to top it up less, I think. But when I topped it up, I think I'd use the window a lot more, just because it's quieter. I can measure what I'm putting in more, be a bit more discreet. But other than that, I feel like the hybrid feed has been the right choice. Obviously, wafter colour, I've tended to stick, the yellow and orange has been best. I've stuck with it. But I think the hardest part has been working out the feeding, and also staying disciplined and keeping this short line. Oh, I forgot to start the watch, that's a nightmare. Keeping this short line topped up. It's been worth keeping topped up, because I think I've had 3 on it for £8. And there's still a few minutes left, so it's been interesting, but it's shown, I think it's a great example of the difficulties of when you're not a regular on a venue, trying to, oh, that's on, trying to feel your way in. And I think it took me an hour and a half to settle. Obviously, if you're on an absolute pile, then it's not a problem, but when you're not on loads of fish, just working it out. And I'm not one who likes to bore them on, I like to be busy, but I found my own way of being busy just with that bait up window feeder. I think fish for your bites, and I quickly worked out a bite time that there was no mileage in leaving it in probably more than 6. I think I've had 1 fish outside 6 minutes, and that was when I had an indication. Every other fish has been quick, so It's been interesting. I've got no idea. I don't think they've caught much to my left, but to my right, I've got no idea what's been caught. So I'm hoping it'll be enough for a win, because it's always nice to win, even if it's a small match. But you never know. Like I say, peg 37 can be very good. The only thing I'll say in my favour, and I might be jinxing myself, I've not heard loads of casting or that's a nice fish, or anyone like loads of splashing. So it could be that it's not actually. God, he's an old warrior. Maybe it's not fished that well. I just need to disgorge her for that one. It's like double hooked. So it could be that it's been a bit harder than normal. Well, to be fair, I'm going to finish with more than my target weight, so I definitely can't complain. But like I say, it's been a great example of bouncing the two lines, staying disciplined and learning on the job. So we've got 2 and a bit minutes. I'm going to try for one more, and then it'll be a case of waiting for the scales and the moment of truth. Well, that's it. Didn't nick that last fish, but I'm pretty confident I've got £30 plus, so just a case now, wait for the scales and see if it's enough. Well, it's been an interesting day, really frustrating at the start. A couple of lost fish that really got me down, if I'm being honest. Then there's that early doubt, as in, am I doing it right? But eventually I started to work it out, things came good, and I've just weighed in. My 13 big skimmers, bream, whatever you want to call them, have gone 39.15, which has been enough for the win. So it's been a really nice day's fishing. I've enjoyed it. I hope you've learnt lots too, and I'll see you on the next one.